Okay. Good morning. Good morning to all of you. So after the long holidays, right? It is after Deepavali, the long holidays. And actually, today only I am going to take class. So today I have planned to conduct a seminar taken by the students. Already one seminar session is over in the last class. Today session going to take by the Arun Kumar, Ganesh Kumar, Guru Prasad, Arshini, and Kritika P. Remaining students are taken by tomorrow. And one important announcement, today I have posted the third assignment in GCR. You kindly have a look. And there are 4 topics given: real-time cryptographic tools, authentication applications, including Kerberos full versions, not a single version, full version. You get it from the, just Google it and get it. And X.509 with complete details. Also entity authentication, biometric passwords, and challenging response protocols. So deadlines for submitting assignment is on or before 22nd. 22nd of November, right? Small changes here, just a minute. 22nd November before 4 p.m. Right? And no need to submit the assignment. This assignment, those who are already accepted to take a seminar, already completed, you please ignore the seminar handling students, right? You need not submit your assignment. But however, after you're taking the seminar, you should submit your PPT as an assignment, and you just mail me once your seminar is over. உங்கள் பிபிடி அப்படியே அனுப்பி விடுங்க, ரைட்? And please agree these deadlines, otherwise your assignment will not be considered. ஸோ எனக்கு இந்த டேட்டு டைம் வரும் 4 பிஎம்க்கு அப்புறமா வந்து டெஃபினட்டாக அக்செப்ட் பண்ணிக்க மாட்டேன். ஆனால் லாஸ்ட் மூமெண்ட்டில் எனக்கு அப்லோட் பண்ணாத டெஃபினட்டாக ஈவன் 4/1 இருந்தால் கூட அக்செப்ட் பண்ணிக்க மாட்டேன். 22nd அதான் லாங் டைம் கொடுத்துருக்கேன். 22nd இன்னைக்கு 15th 1 வீக் டைம் இருக்குது. இந்த செமினார் கொடுத்துருக்குற இந்த 8-9 ஸ்டூடெண்ட் தவிர மற்றவங்க எல்லாருமே சப்மிட் பண்ணணும். சப்மிட் பண்ணல அப்படின்னா 0 மார்க் தான் போடுவேன். ரைட். அதே மாதிரி அசைன்மெண்ட் எடுக்கிறவங்க செமினார் எடுக்கிறவங்க ஒன்ஸ் யுவர் செமினார் இஸ் ஓவர், யூ ஹவ் டு மெயில் தி பிபிடி த்ரூ மை அஃபிஷியல் ஐடி, ரைட், மெயில் ஐடி. அதர்வைஸ் உங்களுக்குமே மார்க் வராது, பார்த்துக்கோங்க. ஓகே, Arunkumar, are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Shall I present, sir?
Okay, you carry on.
Okay, sir. So the screen is visible, sir?
Yeah, visible.
Good morning, I'm Arunkumar. Today we will be looking into IP security protocol and architecture. So what is IP? Basically, it's an address assigned to a device which has a NIC, which is called as network interface card, to communicate or connect to other networks, whether it is a local intranet or a global internet communication. So there are two types of IP addresses, which is IP4 and IP6. IP4 are 32-bit addresses, which are commonly used nowadays. But IPv6, that is version 6, uses 128-bit address lines, which is the future of internet communication. And then these addresses are widely assigned to each device when a new device gets connected to your network by the process called as DHCP, which is called Dynamic Host Configuration Protocol, which is a layer 2 protocol example. So where this DHCP presents is that inside of a component called switch. So IPSec is used to transmit the data in a secure way, and since it's a layer 3 protocol, it is regarding as the network layer security. So basically, when you send a message through a source to another destination in the internet, or whether it becomes an intranet, IP security must be considered to transmit the data more safe and efficiently, so that the IP can't be masked in any way to authenticate in another way. So benefits. Mainly the benefits of IPSec is it is implemented in the firewalls. Basically, the firewalls are implemented in routers so that inbound and outbound rules can be set easily. And also with the help of IPSec, combination of firewalls and IPSec are really strong when compared to other security architectures. IPSec documents. Okay, there are many variations of IPSec from the ages. So the oldest is RFC 2401, which is just gives overview of architecture, like how the IPSec is formed or how the IPSec is gonna work. But on the later versions, you can see that it has a increased of description of packet authentication extension to IPv4. And after that, later variations, you can see that specification of key management. Like on improvised variations, we can see the growth of IPSec when compared to 2041, like first version and the 8th version of it. Currently, we are running on the 8th version. So the IPSec documents has been classified into like 7 parts. The first part is like giving the architecture. So this architecture gives us definitions or mechanisms on how the IPSec gonna work internally in our networking. And moving on to second part, which is encapsulation security payload. So basically, this encapsulation security payload is used for encapsulating, like binding the bits and bytes and other messages into a single entity, so that it can be transferred safely, and also it can be secured in a single entity. And moving on to third, which is authentication header. Authentication header provides that if the encapsulated packet is trustworthy or not. It checks the packet which is good or not, or it comes from a secure user or just a malicious packet or not. All the works are done by the authentication header encryption algorithm. So to use encapsulation security protocol, we have to be implement something which is called as encryption algorithm. Like what kind of algorithm are you going to use to encapsulate the packets so that nobody can easily break that. So and authentication algorithm, yes. When there is an encryption algorithm, there will be an opposite of authentication algorithm also. So key management. When these two are working simultaneously, we should generate a key so that it can be shared or to another user uh, or they can decrypt the data so easily. And domain of interpretation. So domain of interpretation, it's like a documentation. Look, we are uh, encapsulating, and another side we are just authenticating the packets. All these processes are then documented by using the domain of interpretation. So this is the architecture. So you can see that at first we have the architecture, and on left side we have encapsulating security protocol, and right we have authentication header protocol. So these two work simultaneously and comes to the DOI, which is document of interpretation, and the document of interpretation will gives the to the key management so that the key can be generated. So moving on to security associations. So what is meant by security associations? So consider an example like you're sending a message written on a paper to your classmate during the class hours. Okay, so anybody can wrap up the paper and see what's the message in there. Okay, so if you use any like put it the paper in a box and then send it, lock the box and send it, nobody can open unless your friend has the key. So this is the basic concept of security associations. The security association has main three parameters, which is security parameters index, IP destination address, and security protocol identifier. Like which protocol should be used in the security terms. So this is the architecture of security associations. So here you can see the destination address, like it's one of the parameters. Security parameter index is a random generated number, which is every unique. IPSec transform number, the key. So you have just seen the key management in the architecture diagram, right? So that's the key generated here, and additional like a lifetime or like. So these are the general modes of transfer. Okay, we are transferring the data from one system to another system. We are using IP security. Okay, but what are the different modes of transfer? So there are basically two modes which ESP and authentication address supports, which is transport mode and tunnel mode. So what is the basic difference between these two modes? Like transport mode gives security to only the packet. Okay, so it gives the security for only packet and just transmits through the another system. But tunnel mode gives security to the whole system. Like it's responsible for the starting of the packet to the destination till it reaches to the destination address. So moving on to authentication header. Authentication header provides support for data integrity and authentication of IP packets. So as I already said, it checks for the integrity. Does this packet has a valid address? Does this packet is can be trustworthy? Like that, it checks with the every time. So it has divided into different section. So first section which comes to next header. So it's like you have studied about the linked list, right? So each node has another node's addresses in it. Like that, the next header will be have then another address of the uh, header. Payload length. How the payload is defined in this length and reserved. Okay, if IPv4 is used, okay, well and good. What if we use IPv6? So we are just used for reserved, so that it can be used for future purposes. And you can see the security parameters index already discussed in the security associations to used while we are just for sending one-time packets, sequence numbers, and authentication data variable. So what's the main role of authentication data variable is to it checks the variable field length. Okay, it's automatically every time checks the length so that the data can be can't be manipulated or easily misused. So here you can see this is the authentication header. the next header payload length reserved. So you can see the reserved as a much larger than the next header and the payload, because when we use IPv6 we use 128 bits, right? 128 bits. So for the future purposes it should be reserved more rather than an extend payload length. So according to authentication header, there is also transport and tunnel modes. So in transport mode, you can see that the authentication header is inserted after the original IP header and before the IP payload. So for you can see that. So at first diagram, we can see that it's a raw packet where the original IP header, TCP and data. When you use transport method, you can clearly say that original IP, authentication header, TCP and data. It just resides between TCP and original IP header. Okay. So, but if you use tunnel method, like I say, tunnel method gives the whole security of the transfer. So you can see that it gives a new IP header. So that, okay, sorry. So it gives a new IP header in which it can be safeguarded from another malicious attacks. So encapsulating security payload. So this is the protocol you saw on the architecture on the left side, right? So this also has some variations or subdivisions when compared to authentication header, which has security parameters index, like I said, in security associations, and security number, which is it's a counter value, so that it's like incremental value. Every time you check with the security parameters, it just increases every single time. Then payload data. So what kind of data are you going to send are stored in this payload data variable. And padding, this can be discussed later. So yeah, pad length, it also indicates the number of pad bytes immediately preceding this field. Okay, when data byte is transferred from one field to another field, this pad length is being incremented. And the next header is also used for extension header in IPv6. Authentication data variable is used to check the integrity value of the packet. So this also has two methods, which is transport and tunnel modes. So if you see the diagram, you can easily identify that. So above are the transport and below are the tunnel mode. Here you can see at first application we have the raw data without any IPs or any packet attaching to the raw data. But in TCP section, you can see that there's a TCP header attached to it, and in IP section, which is layer 3, where you use routers, we can see that origin IP is attached to this TCP header, and when it crosses the IPsec layer, you can see that ESP header is inserted between the origin IP and TCP header, between that. And also you can see that at the end of the raw data, you can see ESP end and ESP authentication. So this is the main advantage of using ESP. It checks front and back of each data, so that it can't be modified by any intruders. Okay, this is the transport mode. Okay, it gives the security for only the data, right? So when it comes to the tunnel mode, the process of the flow is already same, but on the IPsec layer, you can see that ESP header is front of the origin IP address and TCP header, so that it gives the security for the whole packet. And when crosses the IP layer, you can see that new IP header is being formed, so that if a intruder can be accessing this IP, he only sees the new IP header, not the data hiding in it. So key management. So key management has two types. So manual and automated. So manual is that a person should be configured manual key for each and every transfer the IP is made. But if it's automated, the computer just takes care of what has to be done. Also, automated is done on a large scale when we have different transfers with a different set of times. So these are the basic combinations of IP security. Okay, on case one, you can see that it gives the full. I mean, it gives the security to only for the two systems. Like it's the transport mode from the host to and the destination host. And you can see for a case 2, it also transport mode, which gives only security for security gateways, which is nothing but a router with a firewall configured. And on case 3, you can see that it's called as tunnel mode. The tunnel mode gives the security for whole packet. So from the source host to the destination node, it gives the whole packet security. And in the fourth case, we have seen the combination of secure transport layer and tunnel mode. So you can see here the host and destination host as only one security gateway. Basically, this is implemented only in intranets. So when coming to the conclusion, we have Internet Security Association and Key Management Protocol. This protocol is varily used to implement the IP security. So the Internet Security Association Key Management Protocol has also different set of fields. So which has initiator cookie and responder cookie. So to be in simple terms, cookie is like a session handler. So it just remembers when you logged in or when you logged out. Like that, it just initiates the process of IPSec by using a cookie value. So the next payload is used for the any of the further transaction is being made with those IPs header and major version, minor version. Okay, so and flags. Okay, flags are important because flag sets the type of transfer which is given to the IPSec, which is it's a transfer mode or a tunnel mode, whatever it is. So this is the packet header where you can see the initiator cookie and responder cookie. So thank you. This is a brief overview of IP security. Sir?
Arun Kumar, is over?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Arun Kumar, for giving a wonderful presentation.
Thank you, sir.
So you
Thanks for all
detailedly
my.
explained everything.
Okay, sir.
So others, please take a role model of this Arun Kumar. He give a detailed note for IP security, right? And I have asked some question, right?
Okay, sir.
Can you say what are the components are used in IP security? Basic components. I mean, what components include in IP security to provide a security over the
So
net?
basically, the components are authentication header and
Should be
encapsulating security protocol.
the encapsulating security payload,
Okay, payload. Yes, sorry.
and also key. I mean, Internet Key Exchange (IKE).
Yes, sir.
So my basic question is IP is a security protocol or is a components?
IP, it becomes as a component, sir. Like it's a component for network. IP security is differ from IP.
No, no. My question, you understand my question? Is IP is we can say it is a protocol, security protocol, or any other hardware or software.
No, sir. It's a protocol.
It's a protocol,
Yes, sir.
right? It is protocol means my question is it is in a hardware protocol or is a software, is an algorithm.
Uh, I think it's software related, sir.
No, it's both. Sometimes if you want to give the security over the hardware component, you can give it, right?
Okay,
So
sir.
IP security can provide a stable, long-lasting base of providing network layer security in both hardware as well as algorithm basis. We can also accommodate any kind of, if suppose if you want to provide a security of your own system, you can provide by the hardware part, right? You can provide a security by hardware part. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Who's the next? Arun Kumar and Ganesh Kumar. Ganesh Kumar,
Sir,
देखिए
am I audible, sir?
yeah, audible. Okay, you can get. You can share your PPT and you can start to take seminar.
Okay, sir.
So which topic you going to take?
Web security, sir.
Web security. Okay.
Good morning, everyone. I am Ganesh Kumar, and I am here to present a seminar on web security. What is web security? Well, web security is also known as cyber security. It basically means protecting your website or application by detecting, preventing, and responding to cyber threats. Well, websites and web applications are just as prone to security breaches as physical homes, stores, and government locations. Well, unfortunately, cybercrime happens every day, and great web security measures are needed to protect websites and applications from becoming compromised. Well, what exactly a web security does? Well, it is a system of like protection measures and protocols that are used to protect your websites or web application that is from being hacked or from any other security breaches some are entered by the unauthorized personnels. Well, this integral division of information security is vital to the protection of websites, applications, and web services. Well, anything that is applied over the internet should have some form of web security to protect it. It's a cycle of risk. Well, what is risk? Risk is nothing but the vulnerability into threat. First of all, let's go with asset. An asset is any data, device, or another component of the organization system that is valuable. And threat is nothing but like an incident that could negatively affect an asset. For example, if it's lost, knocked offline, or accessed by any unauthorized party. Well, if you have threat leads to vulnerability. Vulnerability is nothing but any weakness of the asset. Asset means that the data or information. Well, if you have any threats, then it is a more chance for you to get for your system to get hacked. Like they try to attack your system, like attempt to gain unauthorized access to the systems. And what you have to do is to take counter to reduce the risk. Some of the available technologies, there are different technologies that are available for maintaining best security standards. Some of the popular technologies are black box testing tools, fuzzing tools, white box testing tools, web application firewall, and password cracking tools and vulnerability scanners. These are the likelihood of threat. Well, some of the likelihoods are like SQL injection. SQL injection is like a common attack vector. They use the malicious SQL code for backend database manipulation to attack to access information that are not intended to display. And data breach. It is a security violation that they try to gain unauthorized access to computer data. Password breach is also the same like data breach, but first the hacker tries to steal your password. And remote file inclusion. Remote file inclusion RFI attack is like they target the vulnerabilities in web applications. Well, they dynamically reference external scripts. And code injection. Code injection, it is an attack that they will inject the code into an application, and then the injected code is then interpreted by the application and changing the way the program executes. And web security considerations. Well, the World Wide Web is like fundamentally a client server application running over the internet. So, well, the web is very visible and the complex software hide many security flaws. But the web represents new challenges for not generally appreciated in the context of computer and network security. Well, the cybercrime impacts your business by hacking your website. Your website is then used for hacking assaults for malicious software, and then malware of your visitor's computer. So, in order to prevent that, you have to like have a tailored security tools. Like the internet is two-way. Unlike traditional like using a teletext, voice response, or fax, the web is vulnerable to attacks on the web servers over the internet. So the web is like increasingly serving as a high visible outlet for corporate and product information, and they also act as a platform for business transactions. So the reputation and revenue can be damaged, and if the web servers are subverted. So the web servers are easy to use, but they are relatively easy to configure and manage. So the web content is increasingly easy to develop underlying software, but extraordinarily complex. So the complex software hide many security flaws. The users are not aware of the risks. So the casual and untrained users are common clients for web-based services. So such users are not necessarily aware of the security risks that exist, and they have no knowledge about the tools and effective countermeasures. Some of the web security threats, like there is one way and another way. Then one way is that they use active and passive attacks. Like um, active active attack is like they used to like impersonating like another user and altering message in transit between clients and server. It is like the attacker tries to modify the contents of the messages, whereas in passive attack, the attacker observes the messages, copy them, and use them for malicious purpose, like eavesdropping on the network traffic between browser and server and gain access to information. Well, location based is that it classifies location of the threat, like web server, web browser, and network traffic between browser and server. So web traffic security approach. The web security provide to use IP security. The advantages of using the IP security is that it is transparent to end users and as well as applications. So the IP security includes like filtering capability so that only selected traffic need incur the overhead of IP security processing. The foremost example of this approach is that security sockets layer. The security sockets layer or a transport layer security could be provided with a protocol suite, and the SSL can be embedded in specific packages. These are the comparison of threat. You can say integrity, confidentiality, denial of service, and authenticity. There is a CIA trial. Like if you have an integrity, like they use threats like modification of user data and Trojan horse browser, modification of memory, or in modification of message traffic in transit. What are the consequences of having threats like this? Are like a loss of information and a compromise of mission or vulnerability. Like countermeasures is like cryptographic checksums. Well, checksums are nothing like they are they are a mathematical value that are assigned to a file and used to test the file at a later date to verify that if the data contained in the file has been maliciously changed. So confidentiality, what are the threats are like eavesdrops on the net, theft of info from server, theft of data from client, and so on. So and what are the consequences are like loss of information and loss of privacy. So some of the countermeasures are encryption and web proxies, denial of service like DOS attack. Some of the threats are like killing of user threads, flooding machine with bogus requests, and filling up memory or disk, isolating machine by DNS attacks. So some of the consequences are like disruptive, annoying, and prevent user from getting work done. So the countermeasures are difficult to prevent because we don't know who is attacking us. So authentication, some of the threats like impersonation of legitimate users and data forgery. So consequences are like misrepresentation of user and believe that the false information is valid. And the countermeasure is cryptographic techniques. Thank you.
Law is over.
Yes, sir.
Web security, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. What is, how do you provide security? I mean, how do you test the security, whether security is provided or not in web? Can you list up what are the method in security testing in web?
What's the method of?
What are the various methodologies in security testing of web? You are taking a web security, right?
Yes, sir.
How do you provide the testing? How do you taking the testing of security, whether security is properly given,
Like
security is provided in this web or not?
passwords cracking,
Huh?
SQL injection,
Password.
password cracking, sir.
Right. What are the method of providing the testing in web?
Like what are vulnerabilities and URL
வந்து
manipulation.
டெஸ்டிங் பண்ணுவீங்க செக்யூரிட்டி டெஸ்டிங் எப்படி பண்ணுவீங்க
Software,
பேசிக் கொஸ்டின்
security testing tools, which is
டூல்ஸ் என்னென்ன டூல்ஸ் அதான் கேட்குறேன் நான் உன்னை வாட் இஸ் த மெயின் ஆப்ஜெக்டிவ்
Selenium.
find the vulnerabilities of course it's a software right either it may be a web or a networking web basis or networking basis application
burp suit.
how to find vulnerabilities with the help of your providing the security on web.
Like burp suit for web security, sir.
First of all, tell what do you mean by vulnerability?
Vulnerability like weakness for the assets, sir.
Yeah, it's a weakness, right?
Yes, sir.
How do you find the weakness?
Like using softwares like Selenium, NetSparker. perp suit.
ஓகே, தெர் ஆர் சம் பாக்ஸஸ், ஒயிட் பாக்ஸஸ், அதெல்லாம் நீ இன்னும் எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணவே இல்லை. அதெல்லாம் இருக்கு. சப்போஸ் டிஃபைன் ஒயிட் பாக்ஸ் during
Black box testing tools.
ஒயிட் பாக்ஸ், பிளாக் பாக்ஸ், கிரே பாக்ஸஸ், அதெல்லாம் நீ எக்ஸ்பிளைன் பண்ணணும். ரைட்? ஓகே, தேங்க்யூ. நெக்ஸ்ட் அர்ச்சினி, அருண்குமார் அடுத்தது இருக்காங்களாப்பா? குரு பிரசாத், குரு பிரசாத், குரு பிரசாத், are you there? Are you ready to take a seminar?
குரு பிரசாத் மீட்டிங்ல இல்ல சார்.
மீட்டிங்ல இருக்க. என்ன மீட்டிங்க?
மீட்டிங்ல இல்லன்னு நினைக்கிறேன் சார்.
இல்லையா? அவனுக்கு நீங்கள் இன்ஃபார்ம் பண்ணுங்க. அவனுக்கு நான் இன்னைக்கு ஆப்ஷன் இதுலேருந்து தொடர்ந்து எல்லா நாளும் ஆப்ஷன் போடுவேன். ஒரு பெரிய இன்டிமேஷன் கிடையாது, ஒன்றும் கிடையாது. ஹர்ஷினி, குரு பிரசாத்தை நாளைக்கு எடுக்க சொல்லுப்பா.
ஓகே சார்.
நாளைக்கு எடுக்கலன்னா அதுக்கப்புறம் கண்டினியூஸாக எல்லாத்துக்கும் ஆப்ஷன். தேர்ட் கேட்டுக்கு அலோவ் பண்ண மாட்டேன்னு சொல்லிடுங்க. அக்செப்ட் பண்ணிட்டு ஒன்று ஆல்டர்னேட் பண்ணணும், அதர்வைஸ் வந்து எனக்கு இன்டிமேட் பண்ணணும். ஹர்ஷினி இருக்காங்களா?
அவங்களும் இல்லை சார்.
கிருத்திகா, கிருத்திகா இருக்காங்களா?
இல்ல சார்.
தீபக்?
இல்ல தீபக் இல்ல சார்.
அப்புறம் யார் இருக்கணும் செமினார் எடுக்கிறது? எல்லாம் அவ்வளோதான் போல.
4 மெம்பர்ஸ் எடுக்கணும் சார். 4 மெம்பர்ஸ் இல்லை சார்.
ஆமாம், நீ எடுத்துட்ட. அப்புறம் உன் நம்பர் சேவ் பண்ணி வைக்கல. ஒரு தினம் உள்ளே போய் நான் பார்க்குறேன், இருங்க வரேன். இன்ட்ரூடர் வந்து குரு பிரசாத் எடுக்கணும். கணேஷ்குமார் ஓவர், அருண்குமார் ஓவர், அஞ்சனா முடிச்சிட்டாங்க இல்லையா? ஆதர்ஸ் பதிலாக தான் தீபக் குமார் எடுக்கணுமா இல்லையா? சரி, மகேஷ் சரவணன் எடுத்தானா?
சார் அவனுக்கு பார்த்தா சார் சித்தார்த் எடுத்துட்டான்.
சித்தார்த், ரைட். நான் அதான் யாரும் தேடிட்டு இருக்கேன் மார்க் போடுறதுக்கு. சித்தார்த் ஓவர். வைரஸ் கிருத்திகா பி இல்லையா? சரி, நீங்கள் இன்ஃபார்ம் பண்ணுங்க. ஆதர்ஸ் பதிலாக தீபக். ரைட்? தீபக், குரு பிரசாத், அர்ஷினி, கிருத்திகா பி, எல்லாருமே நாளைக்கு எடுத்துடணும். நாளைக்கு தான் லாஸ்ட் செமினாருக்கு உங்களுக்கு ஏ செக்ஷனை பொறுத்த வரைக்கும் சொல்லிவிடுங்க. நாளைக்கு எடுக்கலன்னா டோன்ட் ஃபாதர் தட், நான் கவர் பண்ணிக்கிறேன். அவங்களுக்கு நான் எல்லாருக்குமே 0 மார்க் போட்டுறேன். மோரோவர் வந்து இதுக்கப்புறம் என்னோட கிளாஸ்க்கு வரவேணான்னு சொல்லிடுங்க. ஓகேவா? சரி, அட்டெண்டன்ஸ் எடுத்துருப்பா.
1 செகண்ட் சார்.
ம். So your last working day will be extended up to 26th of November instead of 19th. And this week end வந்து இருந்தது. So due to the heavy rain, right? So unpredicted situation, your last working day will be extended up to 26th of November. So another 1 week, another couple of week. இந்த வாரம் ஃபுல்லா, அடுத்த வாரம் ஃபுல்லா நம்ம டைம் இருக்கு. We have enough time. So, if not possible to take seminar today, the with the prior intimation that they can take a seminar by tomorrow or day after tomorrow, no issue. But என்கிட்ட ஒன்றுமே சொல்லலை, ரைட்? ஸோ இதுக்கப்புறம் வந்தாங்கன்னா இவங்க எல்லாருமே தீபக், சாரி அருண்குமார், இவங்ககிட்ட ப்ராப்பராக இன்டிமேட் பண்ணிவிட்டு நாளைக்கு எடுக்க சொல்லுங்கள். ஸோ சப்போஸ் நாளைக்கு ஏதாவது ரிவ்யூ இருக்குது அப்படின்னா நாளைக்கு கூட எடுக்க சொல்லுங்கள். பட் இந்த வீக்குள்ளே எடுத்துடணும். சரியா?
ஓகே சார்.
அவங்கள்ட்ட இன்டிமேட் பண்ணுங்க. அப்படி இல்லைன்னா டேரெக்டாக எனக்கு வந்து டெக்ஸ்ட் பண்ண சொல்லுங்க. என்ன ரீசனா சார்ட்டு டேரெக்டாக பேசுங்கன்னு சொல்லுங்க.
ஓகே சார்.
ஓகே, நான் அட்டெண்டன்ஸ் எடுத்துருங்க. தீபக் யாருக்கு பதிலாப்பா?
ஆதர்ஸ் சார்.
ஆதர்ஸ்ட்ட பேசு. ஆதர்ஸ் நீ ஆல்டர்னேட் பண்ணுறான்னு சொல்லுங்க.
ஓகே சார்.
தீபக் எடுக்க மாட்டேங்களா, இல்லைனா உனக்கும் ஆப்ஷன் போடுவாருன்னு சொல்லிவிடு.
ஓகே சார்.
ஏன்னா அவன் தான் ஆல்டர்னேட் பண்ணான் தீபக் எடுக்கணும்னு சொல்லி. பட் தீபக்கும் எடுக்கல, ஆதர்ஸும் எடுக்கலன்னா நான் வந்து தீபக்கு ஒன்றும் பண்ண மாட்டேன். ஆதர்ஸ் தான் மார்க் பண்ணுவேன், ஆப்ஷன் போடுவேன். ஆதர்ஸ்ட்ட சொல்லிவிடு.
சொல்லிடுறேன்.
ம்.